Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hello everyone. Welcome to 12 Talk Show with me Farhana Ahmad as the host. And here I have two very great speakers. The first is Ilah Jamilah. Hello Ilah, can you greet the audience?
Hello Farhana and hello guys, how are you? I hope you're all well, stay healthy and stay safe.
Okay, and the second speaker is Fani Wulandari. Hello Fani, can you also greet the audience?
Yes. Hello Farhana and hello everyone. How are you guys? I hope you are well.
Okay, in this great occasion, we are here to talk to you about the contribution of morphology and syntax to the study and use of the English language. So without any further ado, let's get to the first material that will be presented by Ilah Jamilah.
Okay, thank you Farhana. So, I'm gonna tell you the first material about introduction of syntax and morphology. According Halliday and Matthiasen, content that language is used to carry out interpersonal function in speech and writing. The first introduction of syntax and morphology. The term linguistic, according to Lyon in Exedo, is the scientific study of language. Language is in itself is seen as a system of rules and principles of human communication. English language is among many natural languages in the world that use morphology and syntax to coordinate coherence and clarity in both speech and writing. Morphology and syntax play a leading role in the development, study, and use of language. Morphology, as one of the levels of linguistic analysis, seeks to study the internal structure of a word. Morphology is the branch of linguistics which study word structure and how words change their form when they change grammatical function. Syntax deals with the study of how these words are arranged into phrase and sentence. Next slide. The concept of the morpheme. The term morphology is generally attributed to the German poet, novelist, playwright, and philosopher Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, who coined it early in the 19th century in a biological context. Its etymology is clear. Morph means shape or form, and morphology is the study of form or forms. In linguistic, morphology refers to the mental system involved in word formation or to the branch of linguistics that deal with words, their internal structure, and how they are formed. The word morpheme is used to refer to the smallest indivisible form which has specific grammatical function. For example, the English word orchid contains two bits of meaningful units. Verb plus past tense in the word bird, two morpheme bird and plural marker are present. The word buyer, for instance, is analyzable into two morphemes, which is represented by as by or ear morpheme text to form the free and bond morpheme. A free morpheme is one that can stand on its own in an utterance. This well a full word as man, pan, table, etc. On the other hand, a bone morpheme is one that cannot stand alone in an uterus. For example, in an like are bone morpheme. Next slide. More and all more. The term more is sometimes used to refer specifically to the phonological realization of morpheme. For example, the English past tense morpheme that we spell ed has various more. It is realized as e after the voiceless e of James, as d after the voiced l of rival, and as id after the voiceless t of root or the voiced d of red. We can also call this more almond or variance no. Consider the word reconsideration. We can break it into three morphemes: reconsider, and expression. Consider is called the stem. The stem is a base morpheme to which another morphological fish is attached. A root is like stem in constituting the core of the word to which other fish is attached. But the term refer only to morphologically simple units. For example, disagree is system of disagreement because it is the base to which men attach, but agree is the root. Returning now to the to reconsideration, re and action are both epithets, which mean that they are attached to the stem. Affixes like re that go before the stem are prefix, and those like action that go after are suffix. Next slide. In summary, the English plural form is can be expressed by three different but carefully related phonemic forms: uh, IG, or, G, and C. These three have in common not only their meaning, but also the fact that each contains an alveolar fricative phoneme, either S or G. The three forms are in complementary distribution because each occur where the other cannot, and it's possible to predict just where each occurs. I.g. after sibilance, G after voiced segment, and is after is everyone else. Given the semantic and phonological similarities between the three forms and the fact that they are in complementary distribution, it is reasonable to view them as contextual pronunciation variant of a single entity. Overview of syntax. Syntax in linguistics can refer either to the study of the structural rules of the language or the body of rules themselves. The word syntax is derived from the Greek syntaxis, which means arrangement. Syntax in language deals with the way the element of a sentence or phrase can be arranged and rearranged to express their different meanings. For example, a sentence such as "the dog beat the cat" convey a meaning that is different from "the cat beat the dog," even though they contain exactly the same word. Next slide. The discovery of syntax. The first is that just as many other independent fields of study today, it began from arguable difference is safely. It originated from philosophy. Secondly, the recognition of the theoretical importance of syntax in human language arose from two sources during the 1950s. On one hand, the development of high-level programming language, and thirdly, the increasing complex syntax processor on the other. The, the, the availability of this machine led the hope of the physician and automatic language translator that could translate from one language into another. For example, from Russia to English. This development were not unrelated. Chomsky work on formal grammar was recognized as an important contribution to the growing field of computational linguistics, while Chomsky himself was connected for a time with machine translation project directly by Victor ENGV at MIT.
Very good explanation from Ilah Jamilah. Thank you so much. Okay, the next material will be present by Fanny Wulandari.
Thank you, Farhana. Okay, I will continue the explanation from Ila. 2. The role of morphology in the study and use of English. English, a language that modeled after Latin. Latin in itself is a highly inflectional language. That is, it uses morphological principles in describing and analyzing language. Undoubtedly, to say that language is compressed sound, word, phrase, and sentence. At all these levels, language is a rule based at the sounds level. Phonology refers to the rules of sound combination. At the word level, morphology refers to the structure and construction of words. Strong knowledge of grammatical morphemes, such as use of ing for a present progressive verb as to indicate plural form and correct use of verb tense, is necessary in order to have well-developed morphology skill. Next slide. 3. The role of morphology in reading and reading comprehension. Morphology as a branch of linguistics play an important role in reading skills. The knowledge of morpheme is a prerequisite in learning how to read. Learning to read in an alphabetic orthography involves the acquisition of mappings between phonemes and graphemes. Clear research evidence shows that word identification in learning to read requires a phonological mechanism that generates phonological word form. A phonological constitution applies as soon as the child begins to treat the letters of a word as having speech associated with them. Some morphological awareness seems to be required for children to be successful in reading. Progress in reading acquisition requires gaining knowledge of morphemes as abstract linguistic units. The relationship between awareness of morphology and progress in reading acquisition can also be seen as reciprocal and mutually facilitative in that morphological awareness developed as a consequence of reading instruction. In comparative studies, on learning to read and write in different language. Cross-linguistic difference in orthographic regularity are usually expressed along the continuum deep versus shallow. Next slide, please. In learning to read, children learn that word parts that are related in meaning are usually spelled consistently. Despite change in pronunciation, thus they learn the isomorphisms principally which assign similar spelling to similar parts of word as long as pronunciation allows this. Next. 4. The role of morphology in formation of English words. Morphology is saddled with the sole responsibility of forming words in a very language. Particularly, morphology plays an indispensable role in the formation of words in English language. In English, there are quite a number or types of word formation process that include effication, compounding, compression, blending, clipping, and reduplication. 5. The role of morphology in language learning. Morphological awareness can help English language students to familiarize with the derivation and with the meaning or morphemes. They will be able to distinguish, for instance, that the suffix man or nes from noun or that the suffix li from an adverb. 6. The role of syntax in study and use of English. The role of syntax in the study and use of English can never be overemphasized. In fact, syntax cannot be separated from the study of any natural language. Next. 7. The role of syntax in the formation of phrase, clause, and sentence. Traditionally, syntax is the study of the structure of sentence. In other words, it is a branch of linguistics that studies the internal structure of a sentence and how words come together to form phrases, clauses, and sentence, respectively. The formation of phrase, clauses, and sentence is the primary work of syntax in linguistics. Without his aspect of linguistics, the study of language, be it English or any other language, is baseless. This is because our speech and utterance must fall within the three syntactic formation, that is the phrasal, clausal, or sentential groups. 8. The role of syntax in clear and effective communication. In English, knowing the basic grammatical rules can assist a listener or reader to understand the direction of communication. The proper assemblage of words in the right order facilitates the understanding of the intended meaning of an utterance. But if a sentence or utterance has a poor assemblage of words, other than understanding becomes difficult. 9. The role of syntax in reading comprehension. The term reading comprehension simply means the reader's ability to decode or understand the central message of a given passage or excerpt through the reading. Syntactic abilities enable the reader to adequately grasp the message that is organized in meaningful word order. And then, the role of syntax in literate in English. Syntax and literature are so important and dependent upon each other that the two cannot be separated. In literature, the structure mostly begins with the typical construction of subject and verb. The subject and verb must agree or be conjugated properly.
Okay, thank you so much, Fanny, for your good explanation. And now I would like to give a conclusion from the material that has been presented by our two great speakers. Syntax and morphology provide bedrock for the study of language, without which language study goes into extinction. It is true to say that other levels of linguistics analysis, such as phonology, semantics, and pragmatics, are important in language study. But it is equally true that syntax and morphology are of importance in language, especially in English. As it was discussed in the previous chapters, morphology builds words and phrases into a language lexicon, while syntax provides the rule for the realization of well-formed strings. Syntax and morphology play a paramount role in reading comprehension in English excerpt. Their roles in ensuring clear and perfect communication cannot be overemphasized. Also, the role of syntax and morphology in writing of literature in English is worth appreciating. With all this in mind, one can say that syntax and morphological are inseparable as far as language study is concerned, but may or may not be true because syntax and morphology are independent levels of linguistic analysis. While morphology studies word structures, syntax study sentence structures. Both syntax and morphology are, however, important in study and use of the English language. Okay, that brings me to the end of 12 talk show. Thank you so much for your great attention. It was a pleasure being here today. And if anyone has a question about our material, you can write your ask in the comment column below. So yeah, that's it from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.